Hey y'all, welcome to The Breeze, where we will talk all things real estate and answer all of your questions. I'm Gina, the broker owner, and these are my friends. I'm Jill.
I'm Colby.
And I'm Angel.
And we just wanted to share some market facts with you and just have some fun, ask each other some questions. I'm rather new in the business, but I'm surrounded by a lot of very experienced ladies. And so I'm so excited to learn from them, and I hope that you can learn something from them too. Maybe you could give us a brief description of how we determine what our supply is for the month.
If you take how many homes have sold in the last 30 days and divide that by the number of homes that are actively on the market, that gives you your how many months worth of inventory.
Right. And so right now we have between 4 to 5 months of supply, which means that, would you say that we're in a buyer's or seller's market, or what kind of market do you think we're in right now?
I would say that that's a balanced market.
Balanced market?
Yeah. It has changed from being a major seller's market.
Yeah.
And we are transitioning to more of a balanced market.
Yeah. How do you think that the seller's market seriously affects buyers? Like, what does that mean for sellers whenever we're in the seller's market? Does it become more competitive for them?
Yeah, that means that they can, pretty much, because supply is typically the reason for a seller's market, is that supply of houses is lower. So when a seller wants to sell, there's not much to choose from. So buyers are typically going to have to pay a little more for a house.
I think COVID was a seller's market,
100%.
like a massively crazy seller's market. And then the flip side of that, a massive buyer's market, which you were probably in elementary school.
That's when I got my real estate market.
Was like 2008. They call that the Great Recession.
Yeah.
The market crashed and there were tons of foreclosures, and it was great for buyers. It was horrible for sellers.
Would you prefer to be in a buyer's or a seller's market, or does it really matter?
Good question. I don't really think it matters.
Yeah. Well, even with that new change that they just had, where now the buyer agent's compensation is based on the buyer, do you think that has any effect on that?
I think that our market has adjusted really well since the change took place. I think there was a lot of panic initially, and a lot of agents didn't know what they were going to do, or if they were going to make a shift from being primarily a buyer's agent to seeking out listings more so. So I think a lot of agents did reevaluate their strategy, but in our area, it's just become another negotiated item in the contract. And so while buyers are responsible for that,
That's so cute.
sorry guys.
If you don't get a phone call, if you're in a podcast, you're not a real realtor.
I think that it did change our market a bit because it forced buyers agents to explain things better to their buyers. And so now buyers are more informed, but I don't know that it's necessarily changed much more than that.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's more than just showing up and saying, hey, let's look at this house. Now they have to actually sit down and have those conversations with them.
And fun fact, Alabama was the first state to make it state law that you did not have to have a buyer agency agreement in place prior to showing a house.
Woo-hoo.
So Alabama led the charge for realtors. Yeehaw.
Let's move that to some education.
Off topic, but I have seen where Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana are rising in education, and Louisiana was like in the top 10 or something this past year.
Oh, wow.
And Mississippi was up there too. Mississippi used to be dead bottom. So if y'all want to come on and move to Alabama, clearly our education systems are
On the way up.
You're still on the bottom corner, but
I mean, they're saying
our property taxes are low.
And prices. So we're not just on the bottom in education. Like there are lots of other great things at the bottom. Yes.
Fair. Speaking of our prices, our average sales prices are between $245,000 to $255,000 for our market, so like the Montgomery area. So I don't really know what that means for buyers right now. Other than that, feels like a lot of money to me whenever you don't have a lot of money. That's just like an extreme amount of money, but people are selling their houses. So, and now we're going to be moving into spring, and the time's going to change, and I'm so excited for the time to change. That means I could show a house at 7:30 at night, and it won't even be dark outside.
It does.
But what do we think that's going to, how is this going to affect the market as we move into spring? Do you have any thoughts?
Oh, I think it's going to heat up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's what it says on the MLS that, I mean, every year pretty consistently, March, April, May, they're the highest.
I'm already starting to see it.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to an agent yesterday, and she said she has 19 properties under contract right now. So, yeah, she was really busy. So I also am very hopeful that it's gonna.
We're gonna be busy.
Yeah, I like spring and summer so much better. It's hard showing houses in the wintertime because it gets dark so early, and so many people want you to come after they get off work, and
Right.
It's just dark. I don't like showing houses in the dark. It's not safe, and buyers can't see what they're looking at. So
Right.
this time of year is much better in my
Yeah,
opinion.
especially if they're really interested in like the outside, the yard and stuff. And what if the people have dogs and they poop in the yard and then they can't see it, and then nobody's going to buy a house where they just start to you know?
Yeah.
But that's
Well,
just the point.
you get back in your car, and
That's right.
That's when you see it. Yes.
That's no fun. That's no fun at all. So this past year, some of the changes that we've seen, there's been an increase in inventory, more days on market. The prices have definitely become more stable, and there's been a shift in buyer power, which goes back to us entering into that balanced market. Do we think that this trend is going to continue into 2026, or are there any other upcoming changes that we should be anticipating?
I think inventory is probably higher than I've maybe seen it in the last long period of time. And I think that is going to continue just based off the conversations that I've had and what I can read from people smarter than me.
Yeah.
That's what I think. As far as inventory goes, I think it will stay high.
Could that have something to do with people getting more comfortable with these interest rates that we're seeing? People are not as afraid to put their house on the market and sell.
I think there's always a reason that people will be moving, regardless of what interest rates are, and life still happens. You still get new jobs, you still have kids, people still die. It's just life.
People still die. I mean, divorce are always going to be the business. This is very true. Thank you for pointing that out.
We're keeping it real.
Yeah, so I listened to a podcast yesterday, and the guy said he thinks the interest rates are going to go back down to 3.
I don't believe him.
Lies.
Do you believe him?
I don't believe him.
Lies. I believe him.
That's what he said. I don't know.
I've seen some people saying that, but I've also seen people saying that, like, we're going to be pretty steady.
Yeah, I think 3% was a historic low, and I mean, not that 21, 22, whatever years of real estate is a long time, but that was the lowest I've ever seen. And even before I was in real estate, I was alive and breathing, and I watched the news. I mean, those were like 50-year historic low rates. I don't think we're going back to that anytime soon.
I don't either.
I saw a podcast, and they said that we would probably settle in the high 5s.
Which we're already kind of close to that. We're in 6 right now.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It'll be interesting.
I mean, even if we go to 4.5,
that's better
that
than
seems
7.
like a crazy wild
We were at
time.
7.
I had in my head, not from a podcast, just from what I think, for reasons that are uneducated, other than what I think is like low 5s is what my brain thinks.
Yeah.
I think most lenders will say we're not going to see 3 again. So it was interesting that he brought that up.
Most of our local ones say we're not gonna.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Okay, well, let's talk about buyer misconceptions. Some of them lately have been, I need to wait for rates to drop, which we kind of just harped on that. That's probably not going to happen. We need 20% down. The market's too competitive for me, and I'll find my dream home. Then I'll talk to a lender. So what are your thoughts on let's talk about the 20% down first. How much realistically do you need down to buy a house?
It really depends on what you qualify for. I mean, you can get it as low as 3.5%. Some loans, depending on what type of loan, you could get into those without any down payment.
Here's a mystery question that I actually got the other day. Does it matter what your credit score is to be able to get approved for a loan?
Yes.
What would you say the lowest acceptable credit score is? Just if you had to guess.
Well, I don't even think this is really a guess. Like for most lenders, 640 is going to be the minimum. But we did learn that there are some lenders who will go 580. Is that what it was? Some will go to 580. I say be very careful.
Yeah.
If you have a buyer that has a 580, you should probably just explain it all really well to them, because they're going to spend money in anticipation of being able to buy a house, but they're going to run into one obstacle after another. And most of the time, those 580 loans don't make it to closing. So we were told at a meeting that they go to 600. But
let me just tell you, when I started out, I literally had a credit score of 0. It was 0. I didn't even know that was a thing, because I just never had a credit card, never bought anything. It was 0. So imagine my surprise when I was buying a car. Don't ever do that. Don't get a car payment. That's stupid. Just buy the home. Honda Civic off Facebook. You might break down. It's worth it. I had to go, and they gave me a loan. And so all my credit is based on this car payment, this astronomical car payment.
You better make that car payment, girl.
Oh, I do. I'm to pay that sucker off, but there's other ways other than buying a car that you can do it. So if you're getting ready to buy your first home, it's important not to have a 0 credit score.
Yeah, 0 credit score is not going to allow you to buy a home.
Right. Yeah.
You will definitely be told, get a credit score and come back to see us.
Yeah.
So, other than buying a car, do you know the ways to establish a credit score?
So my car definitely helped me a lot. And then I got married, so I mostly just ride on Max's back to kind of carry us through that. But I do know.
My husband did to me.
You can go and get a secure loan. You can go to like Guardian Credit Union or something like that, and they will give you a loan for $1,000, and you just have that money that they've already had, and then you just slowly start to build it up. Or you could get a credit card, which if you're not very smart, so I've never had a credit card, and I refuse to get one because I know myself, and I'll say, well, wait, there's $500 on this. Let's go out to eat every single night. We can get margaritas. We can do whatever. And I know I'll do that. Well, not right now, but one day, and I know I'll do that, so I won't have a credit card. But for some people, that does work.
Well, and also gym memberships can count. Rent reporting, rent reporting.
Let's talk about that, because I rented forever and I never got any credit for that.
Only in the last 3 to 5 years, maybe, and maybe not even that long, has that become a thing. I know with our tenants, the software that we use offers them rent reporting. So they're, and I just learned this recently, it only reports their on-time payments.
Really?
Yes, it doesn't report late. Yeah,
that's backwards.
Yeah, well, yeah. But if you're a renter and you want to buy a house, look into rent reporting, because that is that establishes a line of credit. So.
Credit's always been like getting a grade. Like if you make an A, it doesn't really affect your grade that much. But if you make an F, then you're really down bad. You've messed up, you know.
Also, you can't rely on Credit Karma to tell you what your credit score is.
It's not real.
Whatever they pull at the mortgage company is different. It's not what you see when you look on your credit card, credit reporting monitor. None of those numbers match.
Yeah.
It's usually they're all, the ones we can see are higher than what the mortgage company pulls.
Okay. Well, if you needed the credit analysis, there it is. Which I do. We did. I would if I would have learned about this when I was entering the world, my mom's great. She definitely gave me financial wisdom, sure. But if I would have had, and when I was in high school, why are we not talking about this in school? Start building your credit now so that then when you graduate from college, if you go to college at 22, you'll be ready to buy a house once you get your first job. Work that first job for a year, rent for a year, and then buy a house, because then you're investing in yourself. And so, my husband and I were able to buy our first house, so now we're going to reap some reward from the sale of this house. It's not much, but it's something, rather than if we would have kept renting, we would have just been paying someone else's bills, which, renting is definitely great at certain times, but if you can buy, then buy. Okay, so let's talk about, you're going to find your dream house and then talk to a lender. Because I was doing this before. I was just looking, I said, $20,000. And then a lot of people do that. Well, and on Zillow, it'll say your estimated monthly payment, $900, and then you get pre-approved for the loan, and you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, because that nice little trick that Zillow does is they assume for you that you have 20% down.
Wow.
Who does?
Right.
No one.
Nobody.
No one.
Definitely not a first-time home.
Yeah, and so
if you're moving
that
up, you might.
significantly impacts your payment. 20% more to pay on makes your payments several $100 higher.
Yeah, crazy. But so yes, it's very important to get pre-approved so that your heart's not broken, as mine was several times after I decided to get pre-approved. Okay, we'll move on to the seller side then. The misconceptions that many sellers have. My house is going to sell just like my neighbors did last year. We kind of harped on that a little bit. Now that the market's transitioning, it's not going to be the same as it has been.
Really tough lesson for sellers. It's really hard for them.
To your agent.
I don't know what to say to that other than it's hard for sellers. And it's not the same.
No.
You can't be looking back in the market. You've got to be looking forward, predicting what's going to come, which is why a good agent is so important to make sure that you're not going off of old information.
Or a new agent that has a lot of help. They're good to have too, right?
Experience. We're all here as a team, and so you have the experience of all of us at this table.
Right.
That's why we're all sitting here chit-chatting today.
And just learning. Like you said, learning from people that are smarter than you. That's very important. Okay, I should test the market with a higher asking price.
No.
What lessons
No, let's not do that.
This is a really bad idea.
It's a bad idea. Because in testing the market, you're putting the cost of your property too high, then it's going to sit longer on the market, and then it's going to cause buyers to think that there's something wrong with the property. So, bad idea.
Just creating a negative stigma for your property pretty much by doing this.
And I think statistically they sell for less if you start out overpricing them
than what they're actually worth. Interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah, you're marketing to the wrong crowd by overpricing. So if they look at your overpriced house and then they go look at 3 properly priced homes, those homes are going to have more amenities and more luxuries than the overpriced home. So it's going to lose out every time. And you think sellers think, let me just put it out there and then they can make me an offer. But that's not how it works.
It is not how it works.
It never does. How about making repairs to your home? I don't need to make any repairs to my home. I'm just going to list it as is and it's just going to sell.
You better price it as is.
Okay. So when we say repairs, do we mean let's just say my septic tank, I don't even know if it can, my septic tank has a hole in it and I don't want to deal with that, so I'm going to sell my house. It's not
a good idea. To sell a house that you know the septic tank is not working.
Let me just.
That could be a really expensive mistake.
Even though Alabama is a buyer beware state, health and safety matters have to be reported if they're known. So, if you know your septic tank has a hole in it, you cannot just take the approach that the buyer has the obligation to figure that out. You have to tell them legally, or you can legally be in a lot of trouble.
Okay, well there you have it. No one all right, this was so fun.
It was so
I think it was very informative. So next time we'll talk more about first-time home buyers and what no one really tells you. We did talk about that some, but we'll really dive deep into it. So thanks so much. Have a great day.